Beloved, relationships are meant to be a space of mutual love, respect, and growth. Yet sometimes we find ourselves entangled in connections that deplete us rather than uplift us. It's essential to honor our worth and recognize when someone's intentions do not align with our highest good. Today, let us explore 5 behaviors that reveal if a man is using a woman. This awareness is not for judgment, but for liberation, to help you reclaim your power and choose love that honors your divine essence. When someone truly values you, they naturally invest in your emotional well-being. Emotional investment is the foundation of any healthy relationship, where both partners feel seen, heard, and understood. However, when a man is using a woman, one of the clearest signs is his lack of emotional engagement. This behavior manifests in subtle yet consistent ways that leave you questioning the depth and sincerity of his feelings. It's important to recognize this pattern because it can slowly erode your sense of self-worth and emotional security. A lack of emotional investment often reveals itself in his inability or unwillingness to engage in meaningful conversations. When you share your thoughts, feelings, or dreams, he might seem distracted or dismissive. Rather than actively listening, he may give vague responses or quickly change the subject to something unrelated or self-centered. This can leave you feeling like your voice doesn't matter, as though the things that are important to you are insignificant in his eyes. Genuine emotional connection requires attentiveness, where both people feel safe to express their innermost selves without fear of rejection or indifference. This lack of interest also shows up in his failure to ask about your life. A man who truly cares will want to know about your day, your challenges, your joys, and your aspirations. He'll be curious about what makes you happy and what causes you pain. But when a man is using a woman, this curiosity is absent. Instead, the relationship feels one-sided, with the focus often shifting to his needs, his desires, and his convenience. You may find yourself doing all the emotional labor, checking in on him, offering support, and ensuring his happiness while receiving little to no effort in return. Another indicator is his avoidance of vulnerable or deeper topics. Emotional intimacy grows when people share their fears, hopes, and past experiences. Yet a man who lacks emotional investment often keeps conversations superficial. He may avoid discussing anything that requires vulnerability, such as his feelings about the relationship, his future goals, or his personal struggles. This can create a barrier, leaving you feeling disconnected and uncertain about where you truly stand in his life. This detachment can be particularly painful during moments when you need emotional support the most. If you're going through a tough time and reach out for comfort, his lack of empathy can become glaringly obvious. He might downplay your feelings, offer generic reassurances, or even make excuses to avoid the conversation altogether. Instead of feeling comforted and supported, you're left feeling isolated, as though your pain is a burden rather than something he's willing to share with you. Inconsistent communication is another hallmark of emotional disengagement. A man who values you will make an effort to stay connected, even during busy times. He'll send thoughtful messages, check in to see how you're doing, and make plans to spend quality time together. Conversely, a man who is using you might only reach out sporadically, often when it's convenient for him or when he needs something. This inconsistency sends a clear message you are not a priority in his life. It's also worth noting how this lack of emotional investment affects your self-esteem. When someone you care about doesn't reciprocate your emotional efforts, it's easy to internalize this as a reflection of your worth. You might start to question if you're asking for too much or if there's something wrong with you. These doubts can lead to overcompensating, trying harder to please him, being overly accommodating, or suppressing your own needs in hopes of earning his affection. But the truth is, you should never have to beg for the bare minimum in a relationship. Emotional availability and genuine care should come naturally when someone truly values you. This dynamic often creates a sense of imbalance in the relationship. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to bring up issues for fear of pushing him further away. Instead of addressing concerns openly, you might downplay your feelings or convince yourself that things will improve over time. Unfortunately, without mutual emotional investment, the relationship lacks the foundation needed to grow and thrive. It's important to remember that love is not just about physical attraction or shared experiences, it's about emotional connection. A man who truly values you will not only want to spend time with you, but will also strive to understand you on a deeper level. He'll be attentive to your needs, genuinely interested in your thoughts, and supportive of your growth. His actions will consistently show that he cares about your well-being, not just his own. If you find yourself in a situation where emotional investment is absent, it's essential to take a step back and evaluate the relationship honestly. Ask yourself, are my needs being met? Do I feel valued and respected? Am I giving more than I'm receiving? Recognizing a lack of emotional investment is not about blaming yourself, it's about honoring your worth and making choices that align with your happiness and peace of mind. You deserve a love that nurtures your spirit and fuels your joy. Don't settle for breadcrumbs when you're worthy of the whole feast. A relationship should be a sanctuary, a place where both partners feel safe to be their authentic selves, supported by mutual care and emotional connection. Trust that when you choose to honor yourself, the right love will find its way to you. A relationship is meant to be a reciprocal exchange of love, care, and attention. When a man values you, he reaches out not only to fulfill his own needs, but to check on your well-being, share meaningful moments, and nurture the connection you share. However, when a man is using a woman, his interactions often become transactional. He contacts you primarily when he wants something, whether it's your time, energy, resources, or physical intimacy. This behavior reveals a lack of genuine care and is a clear sign of emotional exploitation. A man who only reaches out when he needs something often keeps communication inconsistent and self-serving. You might notice long stretches of silence, only for him to suddenly reappear when he's in need. These reappearances are often cloaked in charm or urgency, designed to draw you in and make you feel obligated to respond. But once his needs are met, the communication fades again, leaving you feeling used and unimportant. This cycle creates a dynamic where you are always giving, while he takes without offering anything in return. This pattern can also manifest subtly, making it harder to identify at first. For instance, he might frame his requests in a way that seems reasonable or even flattering, complimenting your abilities or your willingness to help. Over time, though, the imbalance becomes apparent as you realize that your needs are rarely, if ever, prioritized. He might be quick to ask for favors, borrow money, or seek emotional support, yet he's unavailable when you need similar help. This one-sidedness erodes trust and emotional safety in the relationship. Moreover, this behavior often reveals a deeper lack of respect for your time and boundaries. A man who truly cares about you will respect your autonomy and recognize that your resources, whether they're emotional, financial, or physical, are not his to take advantage of. But a man who is using you might act entitled to your help, subtly pressuring you to accommodate his needs, even when it's inconvenient or detrimental to you. Over time, this dynamic can leave you feeling drained, as though the relationship is a burden rather than a source of joy. It's also important to note the emotional toll this behavior takes. When someone only reaches out when they need something, it can leave you questioning your value in their life. You might wonder if they truly care about you or if you're just a means to an end. These doubts can chip away at your self-esteem, making it harder to set boundaries or walk away. You might even find yourself overcompensating, offering more and more in hopes of earning their consistent attention or affection. But no amount of giving can fill the void left by a lack of genuine care. True connection requires effort and mutual investment. When a man values you, he will reach out to share his thoughts, check on your feelings, and simply enjoy your presence. His communication will not be limited to moments of need. It will be a consistent expression of his desire to nurture the relationship. He'll make an effort to understand your world, celebrate your successes, and stand by you during challenges. This reciprocity is the hallmark of a healthy and fulfilling relationship. If you notice a pattern of one-sided communication, it's crucial to address it with honesty and self-awareness. Ask yourself, does this relationship leave me feeling valued, or does it leave me feeling used? Am I consistently giving more than I'm receiving? Recognizing the imbalance is the first step toward reclaiming your power and making choices that honor your worth. Remember, you are not a convenience or a resource to be exploited. You are a person with needs, dreams, and a heart that deserves to be cherished. If someone cannot see your value beyond what you can do for them, they are not deserving of your time, energy, or love. Let go of relationships that drain you and trust that by prioritizing yourself, you open the door to connections that uplift and nurture you. When someone values you, they naturally invest in your emotional well-being. Emotional investment is the foundation of any healthy relationship, where both partners feel seen, heard, and understood. However, when a man is using a woman, one of the clearest signs is his lack of emotional engagement. This behavior manifests in subtle yet consistent ways that leave you questioning the depth and sincerity of his feelings. It's important to recognize this pattern because it can slowly erode your sense of self-worth and emotional security. A lack of emotional investment often reveals itself in his inability or unwillingness to engage in meaningful conversations. When you share your thoughts, feelings, or dreams, he might seem distracted or dismissive. Rather than actively listening, he may give vague responses or quickly change the subject to something unrelated or self-centered. This can leave you feeling like your voice doesn't matter, as though the things that are important to you are insignificant in his eyes. Genuine emotional connection requires attentiveness, where both people feel safe to express their innermost selves without fear of rejection or indifference. This detachment can be particularly painful during moments when you need emotional support the most. If you're going through a tough time and reach out for comfort, his lack of empathy can become glaringly obvious. Instead of feeling comforted and supported, you're left feeling isolated, as though your pain is a burden rather than something he's willing to share with you. It's important to remember that love is not just about physical attraction or shared experiences, it's about emotional connection. A man who truly values you will not only want to spend time with you, but will also strive to understand you on a deeper level. He'll be attentive to your needs, genuinely interested in your thoughts, and supportive of your growth. His actions will consistently show that he cares about your well-being, not just his own. You deserve a love that nurtures your spirit and fuels your joy. Don't settle for breadcrumbs when you're worthy of the whole feast. Trust that when you choose to honor yourself, the right love will find its way to you. In any relationship, commitment and clarity are essential components that provide a sense of security, direction, and shared purpose. These elements ensure both partners are on the same page about their intentions and future. However, when a man is using a woman, he often avoids commitment or clarity. This behavior isn't accidental, it's a calculated way to maintain control while benefiting from the relationship without giving anything substantial in return. It's vital to recognize this pattern, as it can lead to confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. Avoiding commitment often begins with vague language and ambiguous actions. He may say things like, "Let's see where this goes," or "I'm not ready to label us yet." These phrases can sound reasonable on the surface, especially early in a relationship. However, over time, they reveal an unwillingness to define the connection or take steps toward building a future together. This lack of clarity keeps you in a state of limbo, wondering where you stand and whether the relationship is progressing. It's a way of keeping you emotionally invested while he avoids responsibility. This avoidance of commitment is often accompanied by inconsistent behavior. One day he may act as though you're the most important person in his life, showering you with attention and affection. The next he might pull away, become distant, or act disinterested. This push and pull dynamic creates a sense of uncertainty, making you feel like you must constantly prove your worth to keep his attention. It's an emotional roller coaster designed to keep you off balance and focused on winning his approval, rather than questioning his lack of commitment. Another hallmark of this behavior is his reluctance to discuss the future. When someone genuinely cares about you, they naturally include you in their plans and conversations about what lies ahead. But a man who avoids commitment will steer clear of such discussions or offer vague, non-committal responses. He might say things like, "I don't like to plan too far ahead," or "Let's just enjoy the moment." While living in the present can be a positive mindset, it becomes problematic when it's used as an excuse to avoid building a solid foundation for the relationship. This refusal to define the relationship can also manifest in his reluctance to introduce you to important people in his life, such as friends or family. He may keep you compartmentalized, ensuring that your involvement in his life remains limited. This behavior signals that he doesn't see you as a long-term partner, but rather as someone who serves a temporary or convenient role. It's another way to maintain control while keeping his options open. Avoiding clarity and commitment often leads to emotional exhaustion for the woman involved. You might find yourself overanalyzing his words and actions, trying to decipher his true feelings or intentions. This mental and emotional labor can be draining, leaving you feeling anxious and uncertain. Instead of enjoying the relationship, you're stuck in a cycle of doubt and second-guessing. This uncertainty can also erode your self-esteem, making you question whether you're asking for too much or whether there's something wrong with you. It's important to understand that this behavior is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a reflection of his unwillingness to invest emotionally. A man who truly values you will not hesitate to commit or provide clarity about his intentions. He will want to ensure that you feel secure and valued in the relationship, and he'll take proactive steps to build a future with you. His actions will align with his words, leaving no room for confusion or doubt. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming your power. If you find yourself in a situation where commitment and clarity are absent, it's essential to have an honest conversation with yourself and with him. Ask yourself, are my needs being met? Do I feel secure and valued in this relationship? Is he showing consistent effort and care? If the answers to these questions are unclear or negative, it may be time to reassess the relationship. Setting boundaries is crucial in situations like this. Communicate your needs clearly and firmly, letting him know what you expect in a relationship. If he continues to avoid commitment or clarity, it's a sign that he's not willing to meet you halfway. Walking away from such a dynamic might be difficult, but it's an act of self-respect and self-preservation. By letting go of relationships that don't honor your worth, you create space for connections that do. Remember, you deserve a love that is clear, intentional, and committed. You deserve a partner who values you for who you are, not just for what you can offer. Love should never feel like a guessing game or an endless pursuit of validation. It should be a source of joy, security, and mutual growth. Trust that by honoring your needs and setting clear boundaries, you will attract a relationship that aligns with your highest good. Choose clarity, choose commitment, and above all, choose yourself. Generosity is a beautiful and admirable quality, a reflection of kindness, compassion, and a willingness to share. In a healthy relationship, generosity flows naturally and is met with appreciation and reciprocity. However, when a man is using a woman, he may manipulate her generosity for his own benefit. This manipulation goes beyond simply accepting acts of kindness. It becomes a deliberate exploitation of her giving nature. Recognizing this behavior is crucial, as it can drain your resources both emotionally and materially, while eroding your self-esteem. Manipulating generosity often starts subtly. A man who uses this tactic knows how to appeal to your empathy, framing his requests in ways that make it difficult for you to say no. He might present himself as someone in need, whether emotionally, financially, or otherwise tugging at your heartstrings to elicit help. Initially, his appeals might seem genuine, and you may feel good about supporting him. However, over time, the pattern becomes clear. His requests are one-sided and excessive, with little regard for how they impact you. This behavior is particularly damaging because it preys on your innate desire to care and give. For example, he might frequently borrow money with vague promises to repay but never follow through. Or he might rely on you to handle tasks, errands, or responsibilities that he could manage himself but chooses not to. When questioned, he may deflect or use guilt to shift the focus, saying things like, "I thought you cared about me," or "If you really loved me, you'd want to help." These statements are designed to make you question your boundaries and feel obligated to continue giving. Another way he might manipulate your generosity is by exploiting your emotional support. While relationships naturally involve mutual encouragement and understanding, this dynamic becomes harmful when only one person is consistently giving. He may come to you with his problems, seeking your advice, comfort, and reassurance, yet remain unavailable or dismissive when you need the same from him. This one-sided emotional labor can leave you feeling unimportant and drained, as though your needs are secondary or worse, irrelevant. In some cases, he may even go as far as to create a narrative of dependence. He might portray himself as unable to cope or succeed without your help, making you feel responsible for his well-being. This dependency traps you in a cycle of overextending yourself, believing that if you stop giving, you'll somehow let him down. Over time, this dynamic can take a toll on your mental health and financial stability, leaving you with little to no energy for your own needs and goals. The manipulation of generosity often involves a lack of gratitude or acknowledgement. A man who genuinely values your efforts will express appreciation and strive to reciprocate in meaningful ways. In contrast, a man who is using you may take your kindness for granted, treating it as an expectation rather than a gift. He might downplay your contributions or act as though they're insignificant, leaving you feeling unappreciated and unseen. This lack of acknowledgement further fuels the imbalance as you begin to question whether your efforts are worth anything at all. It's important to note that this behavior is not a reflection of your generosity being flawed, but rather his unwillingness to reciprocate or respect boundaries. True generosity comes from the heart and should never feel coerced or transactional. When someone manipulates your giving nature, They exploit your kindness for their own gain, disregarding the emotional and practical costs to you. To protect yourself from this type of manipulation, it's essential to establish and enforce healthy boundaries. Start by reflecting on the dynamics of the relationship and asking yourself some key questions. Are my acts of generosity met with genuine gratitude and reciprocity? Do I feel pressured or obligated to give, even when it's inconvenient or harmful to me? Am I consistently putting his needs above my own? If the answers to these questions point to a pattern of exploitation, it's time to reassess the relationship. Communicating your boundaries is a crucial step in addressing this behavior. Let him know what you're willing and unwilling to do and stick to those limits. Be firm yet compassionate, emphasizing that your generosity is a choice, not an obligation. If he respects your boundaries and begins to show appreciation and reciprocity, it's a positive sign that the relationship can improve. However, if he reacts with anger, guilt tripping, or further manipulation, it's a clear indication that his intentions were never rooted in genuine care. Walking away from a relationship where your generosity is being manipulated can be difficult, especially if you've invested significant time, energy, or emotions. However, it's an act of self-respect and self-preservation. By setting yourself free from such dynamics, you create space for relationships that honor and celebrate your giving nature rather than exploit it. Remember, true love and connection are built on mutual care, respect, and effort. Your generosity is a gift, and it deserves to be met with gratitude and reciprocity. Never allow anyone to make you feel as though your kindness is a weakness or something to be taken advantage of. By valuing yourself and setting clear boundaries, you ensure that your giving nature is cherished rather than manipulated. Trust that the right people will recognize and honor the beautiful spirit behind your generosity, enriching your life rather than depleting it. Respect is a cornerstone of any healthy and meaningful relationship. It reflects appreciation, value, and care for each other's feelings, boundaries, and individuality. However, when a man is using a woman, one of the clearest signs is his consistent display of disrespect or inconsideration. This behavior may start subtly but often escalates, leaving the woman feeling devalued, unseen, and emotionally drained. Understanding and addressing this pattern is essential for protecting your self-worth and ensuring you are in a relationship that nurtures rather than diminishes you. Disrespect can manifest in various ways, from dismissive comments to outright disregard for your time, feelings, or opinions. For instance, he might belittle your thoughts or decisions, making you feel as though your perspective is unimportant. He may interrupt you, talk over you, or make sarcastic remarks disguised as humor. These behaviors, while they may seem minor in isolation, collectively signal a lack of regard for your intellect and individuality. Over time, they can erode your confidence, leaving you questioning your own worth. Inconsideration often goes hand in hand with disrespect and is frequently revealed through actions or the lack thereof. A man who is inconsiderate may fail to show up for important events, neglect to follow through on promises, or consistently prioritize his needs over yours. For example, he might cancel plans at the last minute without apology or explanation, leaving you feeling undervalued and unimportant. This lack of reliability signals that he does not see your time or commitments as worthy of respect. Disrespect also extends to how he treats your emotions. A man who is using you may minimize or invalidate your feelings, brushing off your concerns, or labeling you as overly sensitive. He might dismiss your expressions of hurt with statements like, "You're overreacting," or "It's not a big deal." These responses not only fail to address the underlying issues, but also shift the blame onto you, making you feel as though your emotions are unjustified. This kind of emotional invalidation can create a toxic dynamic where you suppress your feelings to avoid conflict or further disrespect. Another glaring example of disrespect is a lack of effort in the relationship. When a man is using a woman, he often expects her to do the majority of the emotional and logistical labor. He might take your care and support for granted, expecting you to cater to his needs without reciprocating. For instance, you may find yourself always initiating conversations, planning dates, or resolving conflicts while he remains passive and disengaged. This imbalance not only reflects a lack of consideration, but also places an unfair burden on you to sustain the relationship. In some cases, disrespect can escalate into more overtly harmful behaviors, such as name-calling, mocking, or public humiliation. These actions are not just inconsiderate, they are forms of emotional abuse designed to undermine your self-esteem and keep you in a subordinate position. A man who truly values you will never resort to such tactics, as they are fundamentally at odds with love and respect. It's important to recognize that these behaviors are not reflective of your worth, but rather of his unwillingness to treat you with the respect and care you deserve. Disrespect and inconsideration are often rooted in selfishness and a lack of emotional maturity, not in any shortcoming on your part. However, being on the receiving end of such treatment can make it difficult to see this clearly, especially if the behavior has been normalized over time. Addressing disrespect requires both self-awareness and assertiveness. Start by identifying the patterns in his behavior and how they make you feel. Ask yourself, do I feel valued and respected in this relationship? Are my needs and feelings considered? Am I being treated as an equal partner? If the answers to these questions are consistently negative, it's a sign that the relationship lacks the respect necessary for it to thrive. Once you've identified the issue, communicate your feelings and boundaries clearly. Let him know how his actions affect you and what you expect moving forward. For example, you might say, when you dismiss my feelings, it makes me feel unheard and unimportant. I need to be with someone who values and respects my emotions. This approach is not about blaming, but about asserting your needs and establishing clear expectations. If he is genuinely invested in the relationship, he will take your concerns seriously and make an effort to change his behavior. However, if he reacts defensively, dismisses your concerns, or continues to display disrespect, it's a strong indication that he is not willing or able to provide the respect you deserve. In such cases, walking away may be the healthiest choice for your well-being. Leaving a relationship marked by disrespect can be challenging, especially if you've invested significant time and emotions. However, it's an act of self-respect and empowerment. By setting boundaries and prioritizing your worth, you open the door to relationships that honor and uplift you. Remember, you deserve to be with someone who treats you with kindness, consideration, and respect. Love should never feel like a battle for validation or a compromise of your dignity. Trust in your inherent value and don't settle for anything less than a relationship that reflects it. By holding yourself to this standard, you ensure that your relationships enrich your life rather than diminish it. My dear, you are worthy of love that flows freely, nourishes deeply, and respects fully. Recognizing these behaviors is not about blaming yourself, it's about awakening to your power. If you see these signs, take a step back, honor your worth, and choose to pour your love into yourself. The right love will never demand that you compromise your dignity or settle for less than you deserve. You are a beacon of light, and the universe will align with your intentions when you choose relationships that reflect your innate beauty and strength. Trust in your ability to discern, let go of what no longer serves you, and open your heart to a love that uplifts and honors you.